So my first trip to Haiti was back in 2014, and I was an intern for 3 weeks in the month of July. A couple months before my internship, we actually brought in a child named Celienne. She lived out in the country with her dad. Her mom wasn't in the picture. He would actually leave her for days at a time to provide for them. Best of intentions. But for any child being left alone for that amount of time is not a good situation, let alone for Celienne, who's on the autism spectrum. So she actually spent more time with animals than she did with people. Because of that, she had a lot of animalistic behaviors when we brought her in. She would stick her face in her food to eat. She would growl at other kids and go like, make herself bigger like this when she was mad. And she actually had these long, like 3-hour long fits whenever someone would nudge her or a door shut too loudly and she didn't like the noise, whatever it was. So over my 3 weeks in Haiti, I began to see this restorative work happen in Celienne. I spent a lot of time just praying over her. I was luckily one of the 5 people that could actually calm her down, and we began to see this progression of the restoration that Jesus was doing in her life, that she was no longer sticking her face in her food to eat, that she was using utensils, that she wasn't growling at kids as much, but she, this progression, it was a progress. One of my favorite examples of restoration in Celienne was about 1.5 years in. On my second trip, we are playing soccer on the basketball court, and we're all excited, and the team and the kids were having this good time, and Celienne's off just to the side on this tire swing, just having a grand old time. And this ball flies and hits her in the back of the head. And we all kind of brace ourselves. We're like, we're ready for it. And she stands up, waves her finger at us, and tells us off in some kind of like mumble language. It wasn't English, it wasn't Creole, and she goes, as she sits down, and she's like, said her piece. And we're all like, oh, that's it? There's nothing left? And that was it. And so I run over and just check on her and make sure her head's okay, and she's angry, but it's progress. I was like, whoa, this is it. She's learning to process her emotions, to communicate. And for me, it was so significant. It was like any other kid would do that. That's normal, right? But for Celienne to see the progress from, before that would have been an all-day thing. The rest of her day was ruined. Now she's learning to process her emotions. Now she's learning how to cope when something that she doesn't like happens. And that's huge. And I love to see that for children like Celienne, there's a future. And we're still believing for the continual restoration in her life. That one day she's going to be able to stand up on a stage and say, my name's Celienne, this is where I was and this is where I am now. And it's thanks to the love of Jesus Christ. And I'm believing that for her and for every single one of our kids. A lot of times we ask the question of, do you know the name of an orphan? And I honestly can't remember the first child that I met. It was a whirlwind of a day, and I met probably 20 kids, and just names flooded. But Celienne stuck with me. She was one of the first ones that I really connected with and built a relationship with. And is a large part of why I do what I do now.